Hello and welcome everybody to the Buy Round Recap Show. We've finished in Vegas. We're joined by Wade Graham. Please do, as always, like and subscribe if you like this content. It really does help support the show. Wade, second time round here in Vegas, 4 games. What's your impressions of the whole week?
The whole week? I must say I'm just, like last year we sat here at the same time, right? And we talked about, before we were sort of the unknown, about how it would be, and we gave it a massive tick for success. This year, second time round, 4 teams. UK Super League game, the women's game, and then obviously the round 1 of the NRL. And you just have to say it's a success again. They delivered on everything. The footy was great. All the fans who signed up to fly over and experience the week of Vegas, I just got to take my hats off and just say they delivered on everything they did again. And wow, Jimmy, like, we've done 2 years. What about,
my life expectancy has taken another hit.
Imagine year 3. Imagine next year.
I don't know if I
don't know if I can come back either.
I reckon a week in Vegas has cost me 2 weeks of my life expectancy. So, you know, if the NRL comes here for 5 years, that's probably 10 weeks of life expectancy are going to be rubbed out for me. On a personal note for you, got to play some decent rounds of golf, didn't you?
Yeah. So this year I was lucky. I remember last year we came over on the charter flight, which we were lucky to do that as well. But this year I came over early with the Sharkies, had the first 4 days with the team in LA. But because of our commitments, the media commitments not starting until Thursday in Vegas, I had a couple of days on my own. I had a couple of friends fly over and got to play PJ West Stadium, which is at Palm Springs, which is a magic course, and was awesome. And they got to play Wolf Creek here in Las Vegas. So I mixed a little bit of business with some pleasure, and it's been a good trip. But my wife just called me before, and she's ready for me to come home.
I think I'm ready to go home as well. We've also nearly, I know you've been busy. I've been busy as well to an extent. Sort of a last-minute dash to get gifts for our loved ones at home. It was nearly thwarted. We did a little bit of work for the NRL, got some gift bags, and our good friend Ben Dobbin decided to give those bags away to other people, thinking that it was a gift from the NRL. No. We bought them ourselves, but thankfully that situation has been rescued. So we've got some gifts to take home, which is good. We don't want to go home empty-handed.
When we came up with the idea to get them ourselves, that was a great idea. And I was away.
At first, you were like, "What are you getting these for?" I'll get them as well. So great minds think alike, Wade.
It was good, but I was a little bit, because I was away. I didn't realise you were in real time when Dobbo, thinking that he could just touch other things.
Ben Dobbin's trying to worm his way into a very successful podcast. He's got his own podcast. I'm not quite sure if you'll be on the show, but Ben, would you like to answer these allegations?
Well, I certainly would. Thank you for having me on the buy round. Can I just say, you two blokes have made more money out of rugby league than I've had hot feeds. Then on this week, Triple M have paid for everything for us. Yep. Probably not for you, Wade, to be fair. But you've been on the book. Now, the boss has 2 boys. He sees some football, so we do the right thing and give them to him, and then you've carried on like someone stole your lunch money.
Ben, do you normally touch stuff that's not yours and just give it away?
Well,
because they were our gifts for our children.
No, we didn't have any idea about that.
Yeah, but do you just pick up things that aren't yours and just give them away?
Did you go from a backpack to see what gifts you could just go and smooze the boss? This was about you. Again, this isn't about the boss. This is about you going, I know, I'm going to butter up to the boss because you're after a promotion at Triple M. We know your game, mate. You can't kid a kid. Get out of this show. You are not worthy. You are not worthy.
But we rescued. We've got our gifts back now.
We've got them back. They're not in their allocated bags like they were. We've gone from 2 bags into the 1 bag, so it might be a bit of an issue when we get home.
Yeah,
anyway, crisis averted, Wade. For me, obviously, 4 games here. Wigan against Warrington. I'm sure our listeners can check out the video captured by Fox Sports of me doing a little bit of work in front of the Wigan crowd. Calling me a Scouse bastard. I'd just like to put it on note to all those Wigan fans. You are from Wigan. You have no right to criticise anybody about where they're born and bred and raised. I'm very proud that I'm from Liverpool. That's where I'm from. It made me, the city made me who I am. And you don't put shit on people if you're from Wigan. That's all I've got to say. And also, we won 4 in a row, so get that up, yeah. But in all seriousness, it was great sport. I've had such a good time interacting with so many British fans from Wigan, from Warrington. Yes, they were our rivals when I was playing, but we come together for the game and the common good. They kicked off, Wade. I I was anticipating a closer contest, and the Stars, Bevan French, just lightning speed lit up the stage, and Dufty had a couple of opportunities. I think it's great that the Super League is here, but my mate Sam Burgess, his sort of like, he knows he's on show for the Australian public, and he'll be very disappointed with that.
Yeah. Well, two things for me. Firstly, obviously I don't have the emotional connections that you have to the Super League and different clubs and the banter that you were having, but I loved it. I loved the fact that the English game was involved in rounds. I loved the passion from the crowd, and I thought it set the tone for the day. And kudos to all the UK travellers that came over to support their teams, because I thought it just added to the event. It added to the event, and I can see it. Hopefully, I can see it growing from here, because it sort of brought everything together, and it just showed that if we get it right at the right time, like, we're not going to be able to get everything together, but if we get it right at the right times, we can use these sort of events to grow both games. And ultimately, as a rugby league fan, I want to see the game grow as much as it can. But yeah, towards the game, you come over here knowing that it's going to be an occasion. And when there's an occasion and you're a team, you want to deliver, you want to put your best foot forward, and there's so many eyeballs on this event that you want to stand up and show what you're worth. And unfortunately for today, Wigan, they flexed their muscles a little bit, defending Super League champions. And Warrington would have gave themselves every chance coming into this game, but it's going to be a long flight home. And I don't know Sammy Burgess as a coach, but I certainly know him as the competitor that I played against, and how he represented himself over here for so many years. And I'd imagine it could be a long flight home to the UK.
Yeah, and it's a sense of occasion here, and I think Wigan have experience on the big stage. They've won so many trophies over in England the past couple of seasons, and they handled the occasion better for me. But as a whole, the English Super League coming here, it's for me now, as for the next 3 years that we're contractually sorted out for the Vegas trip to start the season, the Super League just has to be a part of it. The fans, honestly, you guys added so much. The amount of times I've had people coming up to me and going, Jammer, how good are the English fans? How good are the English fans? And, like, credit to you, Wigan, Warrington. Look, we know we had those big rivals, but I've got to stand and applaud you for what you brought to this this stage, this arena, this event, the whole event, the whole week as well. It wasn't just, the 4 games here today. It's been the whole week. The English fans, thank you so much for everything that you've done. A big lesson in what it's like to be a passionate supporter of fans. But we move on to the Canberra Raiders against the Warriors. I've spoke to a few Warriors fans when we were at that function, and they're in a bit of disbelief. Yes, they're happy to be here in Las Vegas, but they're doing a little bit of soul searching in round 1. They had enough opportunity, but creativity seems to look like it's going to be an issue. Even when they had the numerical advantage, they scored that try with Tuivasa-Sheck, but other than that, they didn't really look that creative, Wade.
Yeah, I think it's hard to not combine. This is round 1. Round 1. You always have to remember it's round 1, but because of the event and the sense of occasion, you expect so much. And it was always going to be a challenge for the Warriors. They've lost Tohu Harris in the middle. Adam Fanua-Blake went to the Sharks. Obviously, they gained James Harris in the middle, but the big one, the big key, Sean Johnson out. Who's going to replace Sean Johnson? And in these big occasions, these games, it comes down to the cool minds, the cool heads, where you give the opposition the ball and how you make them start their sets. And I just thought, Ricky Stewart, not the master stroke, but it's just almost you could see it coming. He takes Jordan Smithies, puts him on the bench, and puts Josh Papali in the starting side. That goes to the experience and the sense of the occasion. All right, let's get our experienced guys out there that know what this is about. They're going to play simple footy, no mistakes, and just get the balls in the right areas and just play the long game. And I thought from the Warriors side, whenever they had an opportunity to just build a bit of pressure or to just take the smart play or the game, what you should do, the gamesmanship side, they just fell down a little bit. And that's going to be the pressure and the criticism by now. Like, their kicking game was just below tonight, and that's where good game managers, that's the hole they're going to have to fill.
Yeah, I think a lot of expectation on Luke Metcalf. If he can have a full season together, I think it gives the Warriors a chance. Obviously, like you say, it is round 1, so no one's going to be perfect. For the Warriors, I'm still of the belief that Roger Tuivasa-Sheck needs to play fullback. He has to play fullback. So their first try, he comes into the middle of the field from the wing, gets a relatively quick play of the ball. They move the ball back to his side, and Capewell goes over. He scores the other opportunity on the wing, but for me, he just doesn't see enough football in good creative positions to maximise his strength. And this isn't a knock on Nickel Cluxter, but again, like defensively, the try conceded with the bombs gone up, and he's just sat in the chair's position, and that's a big mistake. Where I'm imagining Roger, he's going up to compete for that ball, and he doesn't make the same mistake, which leads to the try.
It's funny that you say that, because if you don't watch the game right and you look at the stats, I think Roger had maybe over 20 carries, and he ran for 180 metres. And normally you would go, that's a
great contribution.
That's
great contribution for any winger.
That's a tick.
Anyone that plays
No, but even
great.
if it was like you just didn't see anything, that's a great contribution. But if you sit here live and watch the game, he does that all from the wing. You're left with a feeling that, well, if he was at fullback, what more could he have given? And this is it's a pressure from the outside looking in. Obviously, internally, the Warriors have an idea about how their team balances and what they think their best team is moving forward. But the pressure will always be on when you have a guy like Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, and we know what he can do at fullback. All right, you might know internally what the balance of your team feels better about, but externally, we know what he can do at fullback. Every time he's on the wing and a result happens like this, the questions will always be asked, well, what if he was at fullback? And personally, again, I'm not in there for wars, but I would have Roger at fullback because he's shown time and time again the contribution that he could have in the team, and they're going to have some questions to answer. And as long as he's on the wing and they're losing, that'll always be a bit of pressure on that positional decision.
Yeah, it will, and it was the same old story for the Warriors in terms of had the ability to get down into good field position, but they struggled to create opportunities. Like I say, even with 12 against 13 with that extra man, it was quite poor, really. When you look at the teams at the top level, when they play with that numerical advantage, they're creating opportunities left, right and centre, but it just wasn't there for the Warriors. The Canberra Raiders, got to give them so much credit. Look, I personally tipped them for the spoon. I'm not going to change. I did. But I thought
I think that's crazy.
Well,
I don't think that won the spoon.
Probably stupid, but it's hot. Who do you pick for the spoon? There's no right or wrong answer. Just on the Raiders, I think Ricky Stewart handled the occasion and the emotion of the week, and sometimes great people managers are at their best when they feel under threat and a bit of adversity. And look, not necessarily a time of crisis, but when they're feeling a little bit threatened and they just go and they build this narrative, and then the response from Ricky Stewart's Raiders that have been in the press for the wrong reasons in the build-up to this game, I think it actually really helped the Raiders' cause.
Yeah, I agree. Like, there's two ways you can go about it when there's small little matters that put the spotlight on you. You can either all sort of step away from each other and start pointing fingers, or you can use that thing as a bit of a galvanising tool and bring everyone together and go, all right, let's bunker down a bit and get out there and show everyone else that it doesn't matter what happens. We're still together, we're still united, and this is the way we're going to go. And Ricky Stewart has a fantastic record in round one. Talk about a sense of occasion, the way he would deliver his message. Like, he's been there and done that at every level of the game. And again, they just delivered today. And can they continue that on? Like, it's just round one. I don't want to. You can't be overly critical, or you can't be overly high, because you know what it's like, Jimmy. You spend 12 weeks doing the preseason, and everyone's going. They're flying in the preseason. I've never been as fit as I am. I've never been as strong as I am. But until you get
this new game plan, this new move that we've got in attack, we're gonna revolutionise.
Until you get out there in the heat of the moment, take the result away. Until you get out there in the heat of the moment, you get the game fit video on film, and you can turn up on Monday morning and you go, okay, boys, I don't care how you were feeling at training. This is how we played, and this is the direct result. Then you can go to work. It
happened to us one year at the Dogs. We spent the entire pre-season restructuring our attack. We had this move called, I think it was called Bird. and it was basically a bit of a change in style of like the ball playing forward, but it was through the halves. It was called Bird, and this was this new. We were just going to blow teams away. I think it lasted 40 minutes, and then it was like, hey, we're never doing this again. We spent like months working on it, and it just. It was great in theory, great in training practice against the Reggies, and then we got to a full-blown NRL game. We're like, and we didn't get to practice in the trials because we didn't want anyone to know save it. Lasted 40 minutes, getting a half time. We're like, hey lads, should we just go back to the way we used to play? And it's like, yeah, let's put. But
this is where the real journey starts for every team. Like it's a split round one, right? So there's 4 teams that they've got some evidence now on film in competition about where they did well and where they thought they could have did better. And now it's the marathon begins. The marathon begins to round 26, 27 and the finals, and this is just a start. And teams are going to walk away from here disappointed, and teams are going to walk away being very happy with getting the result, but this is just a start.
It is just a start, Wado, and it's an emotional sport. You know, you ride the waves of losses and victories, draws, everything in between. Onto the international game. How do you describe it? Look, girls against women, but more so professionals against amateurs. Because I think, for me, my takeaway from it is, look, horrible viewing from an English perspective, but it just goes to show if you're willing to put in and invest in pathways, in a proper season structure, in really competitive games, and also Australia has the advantage that being an NRLW player is one of the most high-profile positions in women's sport in Australia. Yes, you've got swimming with the Olympics and the AFLW and a few other sports to contend with, but I think the NRLW athletes are probably on a bit of a pedestal, and that's through investment, that's through, you know, the competition structure, and it just shows what can be achieved.
I completely agree. It's a perfect example of if you're willing to, you know, invest in something, give it time to develop, and believe in it, well then you might not see it year to year, right? Because it's just a gradual growth. But then when you expose it to something that hasn't had the same growth, it just goes to show how much of a difference it can make. And you know, hats off to the NRL, the NRLW for the progress they have made. And yeah, it's an area that the English game will have to look at. And I know financially they're probably not in a position to invest in the same amount that the NRL has, but certainly it's an example of development in any sense. It doesn't matter, male or female, it doesn't matter. It's just an example of
if you put resources into a project, it pays dividends, and that was clear today with the Giller, who's just totally dominating. A few things in the build-up to the game. Look, I don't think that the English team named their side, and there was rumours going around that the Australian team had been told, hey, girls, can you actually maybe take it easy? They didn't. I'm glad they didn't listen to that.
That's not the way. That's not the way our game is meant to play.
And also, if you're Australia and England, that rivalry, whether you're playing NRL, NRLW,
if you put a national,
whatever it is,
if you put a national jersey on,
or England v Australia, it doesn't get any bigger. Look, I'll never support Australia in anything. I'll take any country over Australia. Although I love the country, I'd go to war for the country, apart from if they went to war for England. But I'll never support them in a sporting fixture. But one of the things I think where England could benefit from, speaking with Jasmine Strange, who is one of the best players in the NRLW now. Hey, she has English relatives. I think on as close as the mother's side. Or her mum, I can't recall exactly, but I know it's a close relative. She contacted the English Rugby League and was basically told no, because our English skills are better. Now, based off what I've seen out there, that's not the truth. And she said there's, you know, a good half dozen of us that have contacted the RFL, and they've rejected the request. I just don't understand it.
Well, I think. If we're talking internationally, I think you need to do the utmost you can to give the best opportunity for everyone who's to grow the game and at that level. Like to be, you know, being, you know, nitpicking over little things or over pride or ego for the sake of. I think you need to put the game as a whole, particularly not rugby league, but in this sense, the women's game as a whole. And if there's an opportunity to grow the international game and
make it competitive,
make it competitive.
Like as great as it is for the Gillaroos players to walk in that dressing room and they'll be partying in Vegas tonight. Unfortunately, that game can't happen again.
Well,
so the Gillaroos won't play England here again on this stage. Now they may look to include the women in an NRLW fixture or perhaps a women's state of origin here, but that fixture, England v Gillaroos, will not happen.
Yeah, I agree. And again, it's a learning curve, right? And if you thought again from the other side that you were saying that the perception was that no, we're good, we don't need external help. Well, it's a wake up call for them, and it's a time to go, okay, let's have a look at the facts, and the facts are just what happened in that game, and they need to have a strategy moving forward, and hopefully. It's a strategy that helps develop the opportunities in the UK for women that want to play rugby league and to get better.
Well, even for those players that qualify, who play in the NRLW on a regular basis, even just by going into camp and sort of dragging some of those players up with them, to say, this is what it's like to be, a professional, this is what it's like to play in the NRLW, because the gap was just... It was professionals against amateurs.
I agree, and not to go too deep into a tangent, right? Because coaches are there to develop and to nurture and to teach you as an individual to grow. But I think the best lessons I ever learned as a rugby league player and how to be better was off other players. Players who I looked to and respected, who I thought were better than me. And then I watched them train, I watched them play, I watch what they do every day, and I go, well, I need to do that. I need to do what they're doing.
So the impact could be these girls are playing in the NRLW, or that's what training looks like.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when you go with better players, it can be a real eye opener to go, oh, I thought I was fit. Actually, no, I wasn't. Oh, I thought I was strong, or I thought I was, the last person out there.
And you can be told something. You can be told something, but if you're actually there and you're shown something, you see it. It's in your eyes. Well, they're the greatest lessons I ever learned how to play. And I've had many great coaches who helped me develop as a man, as a player, and as a leader or not. But as an actual player, the most I learned is off players that I thought were better than me, and I should take a leaf out of their book because they're doing the right things. And obviously, if I want to be them, I need to take some of those lessons.
Yeah, absolutely. Wade, just finally on to your Sharks. I think there's a fair bit to probably take out of that from a performance, but ultimately coming up short.
Yeah, disappointed. There's no doubt our Sharkies would be disappointed. And the disappointment would come from because I thought we saw enough in there that we could have got the win. Okay, Probably should have. We were the better team for a lot of the game, but if you take the emotion out of it, obviously the big hopes with how far you travel, coming out against the defending premiers, and you did enough, or you thought you did enough to win the game, but the hardest lessons are the best ones, right? And it just showed time and time again the class that Penrith have. They're champions. They just know in what situations how to stand up and how to manage the game. And again, Sharks were dominating most of that first half, and two Nathan Cleary special plays just all of a sudden sucks the energy out of the room. But as a fan and a part of that team, once the emotion burns off, and then we can look at the lessons, probably I think there's enough in that game to know the boys are heading in the right direction, and I think next time it'll probably give them even more confidence down the track if they face them again.
They will take something out of that. I think what was noticeable for me is that the Sharks, they looked to be out of the contest. They found a way to come back into the contest, and then they had a really good opportunity down on the Penrith Panthers line with desperate defence from them. And this is where the champion teams come into it, when usually after they did about 3 try saves, the Penrith Panthers, and then usually teams that have been under so much defensive pressure, when they get the ball, it's sort of 4 direct carries, kick long, chase hard, try and get back into the contest, where Penrith Panthers, they actually went up the other end, and then within moments they score, and they are the best at turning the momentum in the game.
Well, they've won 4 competitions in a row, right? They are the head of the pack, and ultimately we fell short a bit again tonight, and we're still short of them. And we got lessons to learn, and that's a perfect example of a lesson we can learn. You can absorb pressure, but just because you absorb it and you finally get the ball back, it doesn't mean you need to go and do your show and just survive. They don't have that survival instinct. They go, okay, we got this done. We expected to get it done. Let's show them what we got, and they were good enough again. How they have been over the last 4 years to show their mettle, and they're a great club. They've had so much success, and we'll keep working hard and we'll keep striving to get after them.
Oh, mate, and I think the Sharks are carrying a lot of hope going into this season, and I think the best is yet to come from them. But for the Panthers, with the losses of players, the unavailable players as well, they lose McLean in the opening exchanges, and then the ability to reshuffle and just
get on
come
with
home
it. Just
and
get on with it. Yeah.
Like Nathan Cleary with some class touches, Isaiah heavily involved again. Those two in their game managing ability. Bizarrely, a couple of mistakes from Dylan Edwards, but then he regathered his feet and again was sensational.
They're a special team. They're a special club. Where they are at the moment, it's I don't know if we're ever going to see this sort of dominance ever again. So
this system defensively and their game manager.
Well, just
players,
their mentality too.
Yeah,
Their like we were saying before, like you just said before, the Sharkies had a couple of opportunities to come up with 3 try savers, and most teams, like 90% of the teams, would just go, okay, we survived it. Let's get through our set, kick deep, and get back in the grind. But Penrith went no.
But also, as a player, Wade, if I was part of that attacking team, that's what I'd expect next.
Yeah.
So I'd close my defensive lineup, I'd cramp in and think, we're going to go after these guys, when it's just completely different against Penrith, because they actually move the ball a little bit from their own end. And like I say, before we know it, they're just icing the contest.
Yeah, well, they're like I said, they've won 4 comps in a row for a reason. They are the benchmark, and as there was a lot of good parts in that performance from the Sharks, and there's disappointment from the loss, but yeah, there's still work to do, obviously, and we got a long season ahead of us. But I think, from my point of view, there was enough in that for me to be, not happy with the result, but there's something to build off there.
What did you make of Adam Fanua-Blake's first game?
Oh, I thought he was fantastic. There was obviously a big name signing. He's an elite player of our game, and to step into the role and not just handle the expectation, but to deliver, and to play a game like that for his first hit out for the club. Like, he couldn't have done anything more tonight, and I think he'll be down there singing as much as the other players about the result. But again, they got to collect themselves up. It's a big trip now home, and it's all well and good to have positives and take them out, but ultimately it's on again next week, and you've got to lift and go again.
Sure do. Just to finish up, Wade, our Culture King of the Las Vegas weekend, all thanks to Culture King. We had a great time with the shopping experience there. Unfortunately, I couldn't make many dunks, but they've got some absolutely outstanding...
Did you say dunks or shots?
Well, I tried to dunk, but obviously that didn't happen, and couldn't make a shot either, so Charlie White put me to shame. He claims, sometimes when I ask him what he's up to, he says he's playing basketball, and he doesn't lie. He can nail a fair few. But Culture Kings, who's your king? Culture King of the weekend? For
me tonight, the Culture King Champion of the week was Will Kennedy. Some of the plays tonight he made, the game could have went the other way before him. And again, you always, when you talk to me, I look for a black, white, and blue lens. He had a try saver down in the corner. I think it was
sensational,
and it was important at that time because Penrith had a roll, I think.
On Lindsay Smith.
Yeah, on Lindsay Smith.
Lindsay Smith, he thought he was over. He was celebrating. I've scored in Las Vegas. I'll put this on the highlight reel.
And he was under a bit of heavy treatment from Liam Martin, who is one of the best in our game of exerting pressure and forcing errors out of the Sharks. The Nathan Cleary 40-20. It could have been a game changer. He jumps over the sideline and brings it back in. I think
he was up. I think his foot was on the line.
Well, I couldn't see that from my stands. I was out the back.
Of course not.
Not from my black, white, blue lens.
The decision is final, and you've just got to get on with it. Everybody.
But I thought he was outstanding. Obviously, again, coming in to the season, there's a little bit of chatter around his future with the club and would he be the long-term option. But I thought he was fantastic tonight, and I'm going to give him my Culture King man of the weekend, king of the weekend. Sorry.
Well, my culture king of the weekend. You've gone with the Shark. I've gone with a fellow ginger. I've gone with Corey Horsburgh.
I feel better now. We're both biased. We're both biased.
We're both biased, and I'm happy. I'm happy with that. Give it to a ginger. He looks so cool in all the gear at Culture Kings, just like I do. So get yourself down there, Corey Horsburgh. He's my culture king of the weekend. The reason being, I think, look at that game. All eyes on the Kiwi front rowers in James Fisher-Harris making his debut for the Warriors and Joey Tarpany. So that was the focus point. That's the two I was looking for. And Corey Horsburgh, what about the redemption story? Like, Frankie Molo's in the news. He doesn't want to be part of the Dragons at the moment. Horsburgh was out the door. Yeah. So relationships can be repaired. And I just thought he came with a...
Well, he played the first 40 straight. He played the whole first half. So
I'm not
that's
going to say
impressive.
a no-nonsense attitude, but he plays with his heart on his sleeve, obviously. He likes to force the issue at times with some offloads, which I'm sure puts his coach under pressure. But with Corey Horsburgh, what you see is what you get. And he's fixed his relationship with Ricky Stewart. And it's all benefit is for the Raiders.
Yeah, he was fantastic tonight in his opening game. And kudos to him. He put the work in. It took some time. It wasn't an easy road. There was a lot of adversity last year and setbacks that you just mentioned. And, talking about playing round 1 in 2025, well, he couldn't have had a better performance than that.
All right, Wade, that just about wraps us up for our Vegas recap show. We'll be back next week, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Please like and subscribe as always. Thanks.